Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today we're going to learn how to improvise on the blues scale. And if you're a fan of our work, go to our website contemporaryschoolofpiano.com to get your free resources kit, which has many great references, including the sheets from today's video. And here I am seated on a beautiful, modern, contemporary-made Blüthner grand piano here at the Blüthner Piano Factory here in Leipzig, Germany. So this is a real treat for me today, and I hope you enjoy this video. We're going to cover some really classic blues riffs. We're going to learn a thing or two about how to bring your blues playing to life. Okay, we're going to get started with the two types of blues scales. Because so many people who play the blues, they just think there's one blues scale only, but there's actually two types of blues scales. So this is a really important thing to know. So there's the major blues and the minor blues. We're going to start with the major blues. Let me show you the notes. So if I'm just on a C major blues scale, these are the notes. So what is it that I'm doing here? So I've got, let's say, a C major scale. I'm going to turn that C major scale into a pentatonic major scale first. So I do that by getting the C major scale and removing the fourth note and the seventh note from the scale. So in this case, I'm removing the F and I'm removing the B, and I get this. And that's a major pentatonic scale. It's just good to jam on the major pentatonic scale in different octaves, just to get a feel of the scale. This is our first step to playing effective blues. Now, to turn that into a major blues scale, I just have to add one note, and that is the flattened third. In this case, it's an E flat, and then I get the following notes. I can add a little swing rhythm to it. Then I can start to mix the notes around, because all improvisation is mixing around the notes in the scale. Okay, let's add some left hand to that. So we've got a C7 chord, but if I play it like that, it sounds a little bit clunky. So a really good jazz blues technique is to just play the third note from the chord and the seventh note. So I have an E and a B flat, the third and the seventh. And I get this. This is a really good appropriation, you could say, of the C7 chord. I've removed the root, so it has a cool sound. We call it rootless voicing. So it's like a two-note chord. A great blues trick. Now I want to go to an F7, but if I want to go to the F7, how am I going to do that and maintain that same voicing? Well, the way I'll do that is I'm just going to take these two notes down a half tone, a semitone, and I get the E flat and the A, which happens to be the seventh note from an F7 chord and the third note from an F7 chord. Pretty cool, hey? C7, then to F7. Now I'm just going to move between those two chords now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now let's improvise some C major pentatonic against that. And I'm using a swing rhythm here. Now I'm going to add the flattened third, quite like to get two notes and just give them a bit of a shape. Or combine two notes together at the same time from the major blues scale. So that's a really good starting point. I'm just playing around and jamming around on that C major blues scale. A quick point on the fingering, a good fingering to use is to really think about where your thumb goes. Your fingering doesn't always have to be the same when you're improvising, but for instance, if I put my thumb on the C and the E, I get a good run of the scale. And I'm just practicing it slowly with a bit of a swing rhythm. Now, those of you who have more of a classical background, and this is newer to you, we don't want to play a blues scale in an even way like this. That might work in a classical concept, but in a blues concept, we actually need to embrace a little bit of the unevenness. It's important to get that horn-like timbre and sound. You notice how I'm accenting particular notes? Some notes are passive, some notes are accented and strong. And that works really well. So let's play around with that left hand a bit more, and we're now going to turn the left hand into a 12-bar blues. So for the 12-bar blues, we get this. We've got 4 bars of C7. Then we've got 2 bars of F7, using our clever rootless voicing with just 2 notes, back to the C7. Then we've got 1 bar of a G7, and I'm going to play it like this. Again, with just the 7th and the 3rd note of the chord. And I get this other tritone interval, the F to the B, the G7. Then the F7 again, and then the C7. So I'm going to play a 12-bar blues in the left hand, using that configuration, whilst I use some nice accented improvisation in the right hand. Let's see how we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. The thing with the blues scale is we can start getting a little bit tired of just being on the one scale. We sort of get a bit trapped on it potentially. So this is where we need to add some colour and some variation to our playing. So I've just been playing the major blues scale there. Now, what was that configuration in my major blues scale? If you want to do this in other keys, it's really good to think of it in numbers. There's a little bit of arithmetic to this. It's really logical, this music, actually. So for instance, to make that pentatonic scale, I was removing the 4th and the 7th note from the major scale. Now I flatten the 3rd note to turn it into a major blues scale. My configuration was 1, 2, flatten 3, 3, 5, 6, and then the octave, which is 1 again. However, I can also add a minor blues scale to really wake things up, and minor blues scales have such an irresistible sound to them. So what's the configuration of a minor blues scale? Well, you could say that a minor blues scale actually comes from a minor 7 chord. So if you know that this is a C minor 7 chord, this can be an easy way to find it, because all you're adding to it is the 4th note, which is the F, and the blues note, which is the sharpened 4th. You could also call it the flattened fifth if you wanted to. But essentially the notes are C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, C, which is 1, flattened third, 4, sharpened 4, 5, flattened 7, 1. It's good to play around with these notes. Like I'm painting, I'm just drawing lines with them. I quite like crushing notes together. These are some really nice blues articulations. And that's the really interesting thing about the blues. That's what makes blues very, very different to classical music. I think that's why I chose to do this video on a really contemporary Blüthner piano, because this music, what is contemporary about it and what is traditional about it, it's like a marriage between the two. So what is traditional about the blues? Well, it uses the pentatonic scale. It's based on a major and minor pentatonic scale, which are the older scales of the human race. You can't get more traditional than that. However, the context of how the scales are used are not classical at all. In fact, they totally violate what a lot of classical harmony is about. And that is this paradox of combining major and minor at the same time. In classical music, major and minor tend to be very separated. They might be put together in a piece of music and put together in a sequence to create a sense of major to minor. But the idea of having major and minor at the same time, I mean, if you'd told Mozart that we'd be playing music like that in the future, I think he'd be like, are you sure? That's not going to work. How could that work? But that is precisely the magic of the blues, is this paradigm where major and minor are thrown together at the same time. Now let me demonstrate how this can make your solos really exciting. We might start the solo off using the C major blues scale. Now I'm going to switch to the minor blues scale. I'm going to stay on that minor blues scale. Sounds so good. Now I'm going to switch back to major again. I could go up major. I could go down minor. Minor, major again. So here are some great techniques you can apply. And if you need the crib sheet from today's lesson, head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and claim your free resources kit, which accompany these videos. We are constantly upgrading that resources kit pack. So what you want to do when you get that first email from us, when you register for the pack, hold on to that email. Don't just discard it. Keep that link. And because that link is constantly being updated, we're adding new materials to it. You can keep going back to it, reviewing it. Inside the link, there are a bunch of PDF files. There's many, many, many in there now, and that support different topics that we cover in these videos. And that's our way of saying thanks to you for all of your support over the years in following these tutorials. We put our material out there because we believe that music is for everybody. If you're living many, many miles away from us and you're unable to visit our studios on 6 Baker Street at the Blüthner Piano Centre in London, well, it's always good to know that you get a bit of an idea of the sort of things we're doing. But if you are extra serious about making progress with your piano playing and having a bit more structure to your practice and having a bit of a blueprint, we have our landmark program, our flagship program, the Complete Musician course, which has constantly been upgraded. And we have some very, very many new exciting features in the program. And we run the program 3 times a year, but you get lifelong access to that material. And I know for many of you, that's the support you need to bring to your playing. So if you're interested in enrolling in the Complete Musician program, you can find out more about that. But in the meantime, have a bit of fun with your blues. Now get practicing.